This is the most heart-wrenching love story you'll never forget at midnight. In a town wrapped in shadows and secrets, the clock struck 12, and the air was thick with anticipation. Midnight whispered promises of the unthinkable. This wasn't just any night, it was the one where love collided with fate in catastrophic glory. The streets, dark and damp, seemed to pulse with energy, waiting for a moment that could change lives forever. Shadows danced on the walls of the quaint little houses, secrets tucked within, ready to unravel at the slightest provocation. As the moonlight dared to peek from behind heavy clouds, it cast an eerie glow on the old black and white photograph lying flat on a forgotten park bench. It showed two people caught in a moment, grins wide, eyes sparkling, hands entwined. But there was a twist. One of them was marked with a red X, a symbol of love turned bitter. Who were they? What had happened? The questions lingered like fresh smoke. Further down the street, an icy breeze slithered through the alley, the whispers of ghostly voices chased it. Each footstep echoed louder than the last. A figure wrapped in a tattered dark coat reached the photograph. Did they know whose love was lost? Or was this just another page in the town's haunted history? The clues hovered like drizzles of divine rage, or was it despair? A chill ran down spines as eyes watched from the safety of their homes, trading murmurs that buzzed with dread and curiosity. Suddenly, the figure froze, staring at the photograph, a deep frown melting into something hopeful yet terrifying. What if they found a way to mend the shredded threads of a love long buried? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the figure knelt to touch the photograph, palpable tension sliced through the air. They glanced around. Everyone was watching. What did they see? What if the mystery behind that X tied them to a soul lost in time? A gasp fluttered through the crowd. Would they uncover a dark truth, or would the night swallow them whole? Cold blue eyes shimmered with determination, yet fears gripped tight. What were they willing to face? And then, just as the whispers grew anxious, the figure pulled something from their pocket, a key that gleamed under the silvery moon, promising an entrance to the past, to secrets yet untold. The crowd shifted, hearts racing, wondering, what door would it unlock? The figure's hand trembled as they held the key aloft, its metal surface glinting like a beacon in the dim light. Gasps rippled through the crowd, a wave of collective breath held tight. What secrets lay behind that door? The weight of countless eyes pressed upon them, the notion of a long-forgotten love story hanging in the balance, and then, with a deep breath, the figure, a young woman with disheveled hair and a brow furrowed in memory, stood tall. I know who they are, she announced, her voice surprisingly steady against the backdrop of whispers. The eyes of the onlookers widened, and in that moment, every heart stopped. She was tied to them. To him. To her. Their love story coursed through her veins, pushing through the onlookers. The woman stepped closer to the photograph, her fingers tracing the red X. They were my grandparents, she whispered, the weight of her revelation heavy in the air. They were ripped apart by something, her voice caught, thick with emotion. Something unforgivable. A murmur trickled through the crowd, and shock smacked the faces of those who had come sniffing for drama. Love torn apart? There always seemed to be more to these tales than anyone realized in their tidy living rooms. What do you mean? Someone shouted from the back, anger mixing with curiosity. What happened to them? The woman turned, her blue eyes flashing with defiance. They loved each other fiercely, but a betrayal shattered that love. She left town, never to return. I've searched for her all my life. Tonight, I intend to find out the truth. A wind kicked up, swirling leaves around her like whispers of the past, the scent of damp earth filling the senses. Every soul around her was lost in her declaration, their thoughts racing. What was this betrayal? Would their own stories twist and turn just as brutally? And the key, what door did it unlock? As she turned, the crowd parted for her like a sea yielding to a desperate tide. Each step felt like a drum pounding in sync with the thoughts of everyone watching. She held the key close to her heart, feeling its metallic chill pulse against her skin, a reminder of everything at stake. Rounding the corner of the park, she approached the old brick building where the photograph had been taken decades ago. Vines clung to its weathered facade, and a single door swung lightly on rusted hinges. She stepped forward, knowing this was the moment to unlock the past. Her hand hesitated above the keyhole, uncertainty swirling within her. Would this lead to answers or open wounds long sealed? Goosebumps crept up her arms as the weight of history pressed down. The townsfolk behind her held their breath, anticipation thick enough to slice through. With a surge of courage, she plunged the key into the lock. It turned easily, as if welcoming her into its depths. A low creak echoed like a groan as she pushed the door open, the darkness beyond offering no comfort. What would she find? Would forgotten truths mend the rift of love lost, or would they reveal an ugliness that only time could bury? As shadows danced beyond the threshold, she inhaled sharply, stepping into secrets meant to stay hidden, and the door closed behind her with a resounding thud. And in that silence, outside voices resumed their whispers, a mixture of anxiety and dread. Perhaps, just perhaps, unlocking the past would be a journey into despair rather than healing, but what truth awaited her inside? Would she be brave enough to confront the ghosts that lingered? The clock ticked, each second echoing like a heartbeat in the night. How far would she go to uncover what love truly meant? The darkness welcomed her like an old friend, wrapping around her in a heavy, suffocating embrace. She could barely see, just vague shapes and the dust floating in the air, thick with memories. Her heart raced as she stepped deeper inside, each footfall echoing against the cracked walls. What awaited her here? The air felt electric, every angle poised to spring a surprise. Hello? Her voice trembled, fading into the void. Silence swallowed it whole, her only response a shiver racing down her spine. She reached for the walls, her fingers grazing over the cold, rough surface, searching for something tangible. Her breath caught when she felt at the outline of a door, another door hidden within the shadows. She gripped the doorknob, heart pounding like thunder in her ears. The metallic coolness sent a jolt of determination through her. What lay beyond this door? Was it a trace of their love or a remnant of betrayal? With another deep breath, she turned the knob, the creak reverberating like a warning. Light spilled into the corridor, spilling over boxes and forgotten heirlooms. A single oil lamp flickered on a dusty table, casting sinister shadows against peeling wallpaper. She stepped into the room, tension thick enough to cut. The sight before her froze her in place. Old photographs hung loosely on the walls, yellowed with age. Faces she never knew smiled back at her, their joy a stark contrast to the unease gnawing at her stomach. But there, among the laughter, was a figure that sent her blood running cold, a woman with striking blue eyes, the same shade as hers. "Grandma?" she whispered, voice cracking. The photo was a window to a past she had only imagined, a connection she had desperately sought. A flicker of movement caught her eye. She turned sharply, her pulse racing. Shadows loomed and shifted. Was it just her imagination, or was something hiding in the corners, watching? Gripped by a gnawing fear, she stepped closer to the lamp, illuminating more of the dusty floor. Suddenly, a heavy thud echoed from behind her, sharp and violent. She spun around, heart racing, dread pooling in her stomach. The door she entered through was now firmly shut, locking her in a suffocating solitude. Panic started to rise, but she fought it down. "Stay calm. Just find the truth," she murmured, grounding herself. She turned back to the photos, searching for clues. "What happened to you?" she asked the woman captured in that snapshot. As she rifled through an old trunk beneath the window, its hinges groaned in protest. Inside lay letters bound with faded strings, yellowed and fragile. She picked one up, shaking slightly as she unwrapped it. The ink blurred, but words spilled like secrets. I cannot live without you, but I must leave. The sentences felt like daggers, each one laced with the weight of sorrow. Her hands trembled as the room spun. What dark pact now tethered her to these stories of love and loss? She was about to dive deeper into the letters when a sudden cold rush enveloped her. A gust of wind pushed against her, scattering the remaining papers like fallen leaves. A whisper brushed against her ear, echoing sweet, old sentiments of love lost, urging her to uncover the truth. "Who's there?" she demanded, feeling her throat tighten. The air thickened around her, something malevolent waiting behind her. Before she could react, the lamp flickered and plunged the room into darkness. Fear exploded in her chest as her heart drummed in her ears. With only her breath to guide her, she felt the presence shift, felt the weight of history pressing down on her. "Reveal yourself," she shouted, defiance shining through her fear. The world felt suspended, caught between shadows and secrets. Would she break free, or would these ghosts entangle her in their betrayal forever? The ground trembled beneath her, and with each second, the tension plunged deeper. She was on the verge of discovery, yet danger lurked close, an unseen force grasping for her spirit. What truth awaited her in the darkness? And what would she have to sacrifice to unearth the love that dared to breathe life into these hallowed walls? The room held its breath, and so did she. Darkness stirred like a living entity, heavy with secrets and sorrow. The air thickened, and Greta felt as if she were being watched. Her pulse raced louder than ever, each beat echoing in her ears. The shadows, once mere silhouettes, now twisted and danced in ominous patterns against the walls. "Come on, where are you?" she urged, her voice weak but determined. A fleeting thought crossed her mind. Could it be a trick of the mind? The stories she had heard growing up, whispers of hauntings and regrets, flickered at the edges of her memory. But this wasn't a tale, this was her reality. Tentatively, she reached for the lamp, fingers brushing the cold glass. She wanted to bring light back into the room, to illuminate whatever terror lurked in the corners. But before she could grasp it, the lamp surged with a fierce brightness, momentarily blinding her. When her eyes adjusted, the room transformed. The photographs she had seen earlier were now alive, their subjects shifting, their smiles melting into expressions of pain and longing. The woman in the blue-eyed photograph was front and center. It was as if she had stepped out of the frame, caught in a moment of despair. "Why did you leave?" Greta whispered, her voice now barely audible against the weight of the room. The woman's figure shimmered, her lips moving soundlessly, trapped in a loop of untold stories. With renewed resolve, Greta moved closer, desperate to bridge the gap between the past and present, to uncover the truth hiding in the shadows. "Tell me what happened," she exclaimed, pushing against the invisible walls of time that separated them. In response, the air turned electric again. A low groan echoed, the sound of wood bending and shifting. It reverberated through her bones, sending a sharp chill down her spine. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she staggered back, instinctively shielding her eyes. And then, as if summoned by her desperation, the shadows converged, swirling around her in chaotic fury. Terror clawed at her throat. "Get away from me," she shouted, but her voice was swallowed in the tempest. The walls trembled, dust cascading from the ceiling like a shroud of memories buried deep. Suddenly, a voice broke through the chaos, a soft, haunting timbre that echoed with desperation. "You need to understand before it's too late." It was the woman, her blue eyes piercing into Greta's soul. "I don't understand," she cried, confusion gripping her heart. "What do I need to know?" The shadows paused, hovering in the silence, as if waiting for Greta to take a step forward. The air was rife with expectation, thickening like a storm about to break. The woman's image flickered, twisting in agony. "The truth binds us. It's our legacy, but it was torn apart by betrayal. You hold the key, but beware." Greta's chest tightened at the urgency in her voice, her heart pounding like a wild animal. She knew there was something more to this, something she had to uncover, something that would change everything. Before she could respond, the ground shuddered beneath her, the room pulsing with an ancient energy. "Do not run from this," the woman screamed, her form barely holding together. "Time is running out. The darkness knows you." With that, a blinding flash erupted, leaving Greta momentarily disoriented. When her vision cleared, she found herself standing in front of an old mirror that appeared from nowhere, its surface rippling as if it were a portal. "Step through," whispered a disembodied voice, one that resonated with an intimate familiarity. "And discover the truth." Greta hesitated, panic welling inside her. What awaited her on the other side? Would she find salvation or more suffering? The room trembled, her heart racing as her fingers hovered over the mirror's edge. The choice loomed before her, and each passing second felt like a countdown to fate. Would she dare to delve deeper into her family's tragic tale? As she took a breath, one word echoed in her mind: what if? What if this was the key? What if love was stronger than the betrayal that had shattered it? With determination pooling in her heart, she stepped forward, but the mirror shattered, plunging her into darkness once more, leaving Greta with a single lingering question: what truths lay buried beneath the jagged fragments of her family's past, waiting to be unearthed? Greta tumbled into the abyss, her body weightless, suspended in a sea of darkness. It swirled around her, an inky storm of forgotten memories and tempestuous secrets. Time lost meaning, dragging her deeper into the void, pulling her from the safety of known reality to as the darkness swirled, she felt a sudden jolt. Like the snap of a rubber band, she was thrust out into blinding light. Instinctively, she shielded her eyes until they adjusted. The world around her shimmered like a distant dream, an ethereal landscape intersecting between the past and the present. Before her stood a vast expanse, haunted by mist and echoes of laughter long silenced. She glanced around, familiar elements of her childhood home flickered in and out of existence. The tattered quilt from her grandmother's bed floated beside a swing from the yard, both draped in a veil of sadness. "Welcome back," the voice teased. It slithered around her, tantalizing yet chilling. There, in the center of this spectral realm, stood a figure, a younger version of the woman from the photographs, radiant and full of life. "Who are you?" Greta's voice trembled, fear mingling with a strange allure. "What is this place?" "I am Alara," the apparition replied, her eyes a vibrant blue, filled with an amalgamation of longing and sorrow. "This is where our stories collide, where your family's truth intertwines with mine." Greta's heart raced. "You mean you're the woman in the photo? The one who called to me?" Alara inclined her head gravely. "Yes, and I was once part of this world. I can help you understand what happened if you dare to listen." Desperation surged within Greta. "I do. But please, tell me, was it betrayal? Why was it torn apart?" Each question dripped with anxiety, the urge to know consuming her. "It began with love," Alara whispered, her voice like a feather brushing against Greta's skin. "Love so deep it birthed hope, but with it came envy, and darkness that would choke it all." The air shimmered again. Shadows twisted, revealing fleeting images of a family gathering, laughter mingled with age-worn faces brimming with joy. With a sharp crack, they turned into chaos, screams and anguish twisted the happiness into despair. A man's face, twisted in rage, loomed over her, consuming the light. "No. Stop!" Greta cried out, feeling the pulse of heartbreak. "Is that my grandfather?" "Yes," Alara confirmed sadly. "The betrayal you fear was made from blood, secrets hidden behind closed doors." Greta's breath hitched. "But why was it hidden? What did he do?" "He made a choice, a deadly choice. One that, if revealed, would have unraveled everything," Alara explained. The words echoed heavily, carrying a weight that pressed down on Greta, tightening around her chest. A new wave of energy swept through, swirling them into the realm's heart, a vortex of memories, pulsating with raw emotion. Greta's heart ached as she saw glimpses of love eclipsed by shadows, her family, fractured by choices made in desperation, love overshadowed by regret. "Do you wish to confront it? To uncover the truth that binds you?" Elara asked, her gaze unwavering. A challenge hung in the air, an invitation to delve deeper. Greta's pulse quickened. Can I handle it? Elara's eyes bore into hers. You must. Only then can you break the chains that bind our souls. Just then, the world around them twisted violently. Shadows snarled, reaching out, threatening to consume them both. The darkness is awakening. Elara shouted, her form flickering. You must choose now. Will you fight for our truth? Greta steeled her gaze, feeling resolve ripple through her. Yes. I will not run from this. As she spoke those words, the shadows shrieked, pulling back momentarily as if pierced by her determination. The air crackled with electricity, and the fabric of reality began to split, but before she could step forward, a booming voice echoed through the void, drowning out her thoughts. You think you can just waltz in and claim what's rightfully mine? The darkness laughed, a chilling, mocking sound that reverberated around them. Greta's heart sank. Who was this entity? What awaited inside? With a fierce resolve forged in love and betrayal, she took a breath and prepared to confront the darkness. The final chapter of her family's legacy was at stake, and she would not back down. The chaos swirled anew, and she stepped forward ready to face whatever awaited her on the brink of salvation or destruction. The question loomed, echoing in her mind. Would she unearth the truth that could shatter everything she thought she knew? As the shadows writhed around her, Greta felt a tremor run through the very air she breathed. The voice that had echoed through the darkness was deeper now, resonating like thunder within her chest. You think you can just waltz in and claim what's rightfully mine? It mocked, reverberating with menace. Greta squared her shoulders. Who are you? Her voice barely rose above a whisper, yet she felt the firmness in her stance. The swirling shadows pulsed with energy powerful and foreboding. Merrick, the guardian of this realm, the voice thundered again, the dark form gradually materializing from the shifting void. A figure cloaked in shadow, its eyes glowed like embers, flickering with a hunger that chilled her to the bone. Why are you here? Greta demanded, heart racing. The determination she felt was both strong and fragile, held together by sheer will. What do you want? Your family's secrets belong to me now, Merrick sneered, taking a step closer, the oppressive weight of his gaze suffocating. Their choices pulled you into this chaos, binding you to this place. I will not allow you to free what is buried. Greta glanced at Elara, her spectral guide, who stood resolute yet flickering in intensity. What does he mean? She asked, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Elara's expression darkened. It is true, secrets can serve as chains. But every chain has a lock, Greta. You must find yours. Enough with the riddles. Merrick's voice boomed through the abyss, causing the very ground beneath them to quake. You have no idea what you are unleashing. Greta took a deep breath, feeling the air surge around her as she stepped closer to Merrick. I want to be a pawn in this. I'm here to reclaim what belongs to my family. With a flick of his wrist, the shadows surged forward like a tidal wave, reaching for Greta and Elara. A scream lodged in her throat as they closed in, whispering her deepest fears, the suffocating grip of despair, the weight of a family legacy she was only beginning to understand. But Greta remembered her resolve. I am not afraid. She shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. I refuse to let darkness define my family's story. In that instant, the shadows hesitated, as if taken aback by her defiance. Greta's heart pounded like a drum against the surge of darkness, and she reached deep within herself, searching for the flicker of light that had brought her here. Together. Elara cried, lifting her hands, conjuring a shimmer that burst forth from her fingertips. Let us show the truth. The golden light pierced through the shadows, illuminating the memories, the laughter once forgotten now returned. Greta clasped Elara's hand, feeling the warmth surge through her, an unyielding connection greater than fear, greater than despair. In a burst of light, the shadows recoiled. No. Merrick's voice screeched as the warm glow enveloped Greta completely, wrapping her in the arms of her family's history fragile yet fierce. The memories unfolded around her, each moment stitched together in love, regret, and hope, beautiful and heartbreaking in their complexity. She saw faces she barely remembered, heard voices that floated in her childhood dreams, but amongst the brilliance, an unexpected darkness lingered, a shadow tethered to her past, still clawing at the edge. Greta felt the pull tugging at her conscience, a truth still hidden, a final confrontation looming. Ilara's voice trembled with urgency as darkness coiled again beneath the surface of her memories. It's not over. You must face it. The truth you unearthed. It can't remain buried. Dread slithered down Greta's spine. The shadow danced at the corners of her mind, taunting her with a sinister whisper. What else was left untold? What lay beneath that final layer waiting to shatter her world anew? And as the world shimmered around her, the urgency surged. The light faltered, shadows swelled, and the ultimate secret began to unfurl. What truth would reveal itself, and could Greta face the tempest that raged within her heart? The grip of the darkness tightened around her. The answers were within reach. But at what cost? The brilliance flickered, and Greta blinked against the light that seemed to pull away, unveiling the storm lost within the abyss. Shadows clung to her like memories she wished to forget but could not escape. What are you hiding from? Ilara's voice shattered the silence that crept around them like a thief in the night. You know it's there. You must confront it. Greta's stomach twisted. I don't know if I can. The words fought their way out, thick with doubt. Merrick loomed closer, the glint in his ember-like eyes flaring to life. You've already unleashed what's buried within. You can't turn back. His voice thundered, wrapping around her like a noose, constricting until she could barely breathe. The shadows danced in twisted glee, eager to snatch the light away. Steeling herself, Greta took a step into the fray. Bring it on, Merrick. I didn't come this far to cower in fear. Foolish girl, he sneered, and with a flourish, summoned shadows that writhed and twisted like serpents at his command. They lashed out, lunging toward her, but the golden light flickered back to life under Greta's resolve. Together. She screamed again, her voice fierce. The warmth surged from her clasped hands, pushing back the shadows, illuminating the encroaching darkness. Just as the terrifying tendrils withdrew, a haunting whisper broke through the cacophony, the voice of her mother. Greta, find me. Trust your heart. It echoed, resonant and familiar, swirling with love and anguish. Shivers coursed through Greta, an unsteady warmth igniting the vaults of her mind. Mom? Merrick recoiled suddenly, as if struck by an unseen force. Silence, fool. You do not have the right to invoke her name. The shadows surged back, hungry and frantic, pulling at Greta's feet, dragging her toward the brink of despair. No. I will not be silenced. She pushed against the dark force, drawing the light into her palms like a lifeline. Words pierced through the static of forgotten memory in a long-lost melody. You are stronger than the shadows you face. Love prevails. Love? Greta gasped, her heart racing. Could it be that simple? With renewed spirit, she summoned the warmth she felt inside. The radiant glow enveloped her higher, reaching beyond the darkness and piercing through the black veil of night. Images flooded her mind, her mother's laughter, the softness of a shared embrace, the tears of loss that had filled their home. Face your fears, Greta. Ilara urged, her voice filled with an intensity that jolted Greta like the crack of thunder. The shadows closed in again, and in that moment, something shifted. Greta reached deep into herself, seeking the truth buried under layers of protection. The room erupted in a blinding flash as she released everything, the pain, the love, the sorrow. Light burst forth, burning brightly, pushing back against Merrick's shadows. You will not take me down. I am my family's legacy, and I'm here to rebuild it. The darkness howled, twisting and contorting under the onslaught of her light. Merrick's seething form staggered, but he straightened abruptly, anger flashing across his face. You think you've won? You haven't seen the end. A swirling vortex crashed outward, and Greta was blindsided, grappling for her balance. Greta! Elara shouted as the world spun away from her grasp. As the luminescence threatened to fade, she felt the rush of the past gripping her heart, memories swirling like shadows seeking to hold her down. The final truth lingered just beyond reach, a revelation that could shift everything. Clinging to the faint whisper of her mother's love, she gasped, "What are you hiding from me?" The shadows loomed again, and Greta braced for the imminent impact. The confrontation wasn't over yet. Can you withstand the truth of your own heart? Merrick's voice echoed ominously, resonating with a daunting promise. And as the darkness danced menacingly, she braced for what would come next. What would be revealed, what would the truth unveil, and could Greta truly confront the very core of her deepest fears? The room shifted around Greta, and she felt as if she was being pulled apart, each piece of her heart straining against the very fibers of her being. Shadows loomed, darker and more insistent than ever, taunting her with whispers, tempting her back into despair. Yet, with every scream of terror she felt, the warmth of her mother's love beat louder within her chest. "Face it, Greta!" Elara cried, her voice cutting through the tumult like a lifeline thrown into a raging sea. "You must know what lies beneath." Breathless, Greta fought against the suffocating darkness. I want to." The words erupted from her, raw with emotion. For a split second, she felt a strange bond with Merrick, a flicker of understanding that terrified her. Was this shadow not merely an enemy, but a reflection of her own fears, anger, and long-buried sorrow? "Is that what this is?" she shouted, loud enough to make even the shadows pause. "Are you just the dark side of my heart? Everything I've feared to confront?" Merrick's laughter echoed wildly, a bitter melody that filled the air. "Ah, listen to her. So naive. You think you can understand the darkness? You're merely scratching the surface of your pain. What about the truths you've buried in your soul?" With each word, Greta felt an icy chill creep in. What if he was right? What if she had hidden parts of herself so deep, she didn't even recognize them anymore? Faces flashed in her mind, her mother smiling, her father's scowl, reminders of the life that had spun out of control. "Don't let him get to you," Elara shouted, straining against the oppressive shadows. "This is your chance, Greta. Dig deeper." Greta closed her eyes and took a steadying breath. She willed to summon every emotion, every memory, and every regret. Nothing would remain hidden. Not anymore. Clenching her fists, she felt the scope of her heart's pain, agony twisted into a fervor like a phoenix ready to rise. "Do it," she urged herself. "Pull it all out." As she opened her eyes, the shadows surged, but this time she didn't flinch. The light from within her pulsed, stronger than before, swirling with her memories. The laughter was there, the love, and yes, even the grief and the anger. They converged into a radiant whirlwind, vibrating through her body. "I am more than my pain," Greta shouted, and the words flowed like a waterfall, cascading and filling the air. "I am the laughter of my mother, the warmth of her love. I won't allow you to consume me, Merrick." The shadows recoiled as if stung, flickering uncertainly. Greta could feel the very fabric of her truth unraveling. Each thread she pulled released a burst of light, illuminating the empty spaces within her heart. It felt like unveiling a hidden treasure, layers of herself she had guarded so jealously, but just as victory began to shimmer on the horizon, Merrick lunged forward. "You're a fool to think you've won." His voice was venomous, filled with rage. "I am the reflection of your failures. Of every unkind word and every tear left uncried." "No, you're wrong," Greta cried out, with tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm capable of so much more. Love is stronger than fear, and I will face every shadow I've created." The climax crescendoed, and with a final thrust of light, she flung her heart wide open, flooding the room with her essence. The shadows writhed and screamed, collapsing upon themselves, trying desperately to break free from the torrent of brilliance that surged forth, but it wasn't Merrick's power that terrified her the most. It was the impending confrontation with her own truths, the hidden memories she was about to unearth. She felt the ground shift, like the world was teetering on the brink of something monumentally transformative. "Greta!" Elara shouted, panic tainting her voice. "Don't let the past consume you. The truth is waiting, don't close your heart now." Greta felt a churning in her stomach, a mix of fear and exhilaration. She knew she was near the edge of it all, where revelations could change everything. Could she face the darkest corners of her soul without losing herself? As the shadows writhed in their last defiant dance, she steadied her resolve, letting the flood of memories guide her. "I'm ready," she whispered to the void. A sudden silence fell, and she braced for what was to come next. Would the truth finally set her free, or would it shatter her into pieces she'd never put back together? "Where are you, Mom?" she called out. "Show me the way." The shadows stilled, leaving only the echo of her voice in the throbbing dark. What awaited her on the other side? Only one thing was certain, the battle for her heart was only just beginning. The silence pressed down on Greta, heavy and suffocating. It felt like an eternity before anything shifted, and just when she thought the darkness might swallow her whole, a single beam of light broke through, illuminating a figure standing in the swirling void. "Greta!" A gentle voice, like soft silk, broke the tension. It was akin to the voice that had lulled her to sleep as a child, the kind that wrapped around her like a warm hug. Her heart leaped at the sound. "Mom?" The word escaped her lips like a prayer. A silhouette moved closer, slowly formed by the light. Memories surged: baking cookies in the kitchen, laughter around the dinner table, bedtime stories that danced on the line between reality and fantasy. "Your heart holds more than grief, my darling," her mother said, her presence soothing. "You must release not just the pain, but also the love." Do you remember how it felt? Greta's chest tightened as images flooded back, filling each crevice of her being. "I remember," she whispered, tears spilling from her eyes. "Face your truth, Greta. Embrace it all." Her mother's voice rang out, steady and unwavering. Merrick's laughter thundered in the ashen space. "Such a pretty distraction. But you'll find your mother can't shield you from the truths you refuse to confront." The shadows writhed, responding to Merrick's taunts, lunging as if to snatch away the warmth her mother brought. But Greta felt a new surge rising within her. Suddenly, she wasn't just the scared girl unsure of herself, she was a tempest of emotion, the embodiment of every cry, every laugh, every regret she had buried. "Stay back!" she shouted defiantly, pushing out her hands toward the darkness, feeling her heart ignite within. "You have no power here," Merrick hissed, the edges of darkness coiling around him. "You think love can win against the harshness of your reality? The past doesn't forget." "No, but it can teach." Greta shot back, her voice strong. In an instant, memories swarmed into focus. A flash of her mother holding her tightly during storms, the thrill of joy when she received a handwritten note, the hollow ache of loss when the world seemed too heavy. They were threads woven tightly, creating a tapestry that was undeniably hers. The warm glow of her essence intertwined with the shadows, she felt something crack within her. Like ice slowly breaking apart, her fears splintered free. "I am not defined by my darkness," she cried, and as the words spilled forth, a vibrant light erupted from her heart, radiating through the void and striking Merrick directly. A sound erupted from him, a shrill shriek that echoed and hammered against her ears. The shadows around him began to dissipate, retreating in whirls of darkness, struggling to hold on. "Stop this!" Merrick growled, fury painting his features. "You are nothing without your pain." But Greta stood tall, eyes wide in realization. "No, I'm everything. I hold my pain, yes, but I also hold love, forgiveness, and hope. That gives me strength." With each proclamation, the waves of light pushed Merrick further back. She could feel her mother's warmth enveloping her, infusing her with a power she had only dreamt of. It electrified her resolve, transforming fear into fierce determination. "Are you ready, Greta?" her mother urged gently, "to truly face the shadows that have haunted you?" "Yes, I am ready." Greta's voice rang out, filled with newfound strength. She started to draw upon every aspect of her life, the highs, the lows, the joys, and the pains, pulling them into her core. The shadows screamed, coiling as they fought against the eruption of light. "You think you can break me?" Merrick bellowed, strength waning. Suddenly, Greta's memories shifted. From the joy of childhood to the sorrow of loss, they transformed into visions that both stung and healed. A bright light suddenly flashed behind her dark companion, revealing grotesque shapes thrashing at the edges. Was this the release she needed? Could she finally lay the shadows to rest? "Your thread is nearly cut, Merrick," the memory of her mother proclaimed. "Who are you without their darkness?" With the last threads of her pain woven into her essence, Greta unleashed all her memories in a burst of light, engulfing the darkness surrounding her. As the shadows faltered, Greta felt herself teeter on the edge of revelation. What awaited her beyond this battle? Could she finally confront her truths? "Each memory is part of me," she whispered, as shadows faded. "But they don't own me." But just as she thought she had won, a forceful wind howled through the room, bringing back echoes of laughter tinged with sorrow. "Greta!" A familiar voice reverberated in the air, pulling her back into a darkness she could not yet see. What new shadows would rise to greet her in this haunting realm? The air crackled with tension as Greta stood, heart racing, surrounded by remnants of her family's fractured past. Shadows swirled precariously, the heartbeat of darkness resonating with her own. "What else do you want from me?" she shouted, her voice steady. Was Merrick merely a reflection of her deepest fears, or something more insidious? Merrick smirked, a glimmer of cold victory in his ember-like eyes. "You think you understand? You haven't even scratched the surface. The pain, the anger, it's a tempest waiting to consume you." But Greta clenched her fists, determination surging. "No. I hold the love and hope of my family within me. I'll turn my pain into strength." With each defiant breath, she felt warmth spread through her veins, memories weaving a tapestry of light and resilience. She saw her mother again, soft smiles and gentle embraces. "Face the truth, Greta. Show them the strength of love." Her mother's echo urged, the shadows twitched, sensing the shift. They grew darker, more aggressive, but Greta stood firm. "The darkness does not define me," she shouted, every word amplifying the light inside her. She could see the faint flicker of hope piercing through the edges of despair. "I embrace my past. I am more than my pain." "Foolish girl," Merrick hissed, lunging forward. "You think your emotional light can repel me? Every secret, every hurt, will claw at your heart until it's nothing but a void." But as he advanced, something inside Greta snapped. Memories flooded her, family laughter, playful moments, hard-earned memories of growth and healing. "Love cannot be extinguished," she cried, feeling the surge of power radiate through her. "I am here to rebuild what was lost." As she forged ahead, light burst forth from her, illuminating the darkened room like a beacon of hope. The shadows staggered, the echoes of anguish retreating under the brilliance of her spirit. Merrick faltered, threatening to crumble. "Join me, Greta." He beckoned, his voice low, almost pleading. "You could rule the shadows. Do you not feel their pull?" "No," Greta roared, pushing deeper into her heart. "I choose to heal. I choose to let love lead my way." With that declaration, she released her inner storm, light bursting forth like fireworks. Each explosive wave ignited long-buried memories of love and joy, washing over the darkness like a cleansing tide. The shadows writhed in agony, shrieking as the truths crashed against their twisted forms. "Enough," Merrick bellowed, but the power of Greta's resolve drowned him out, overtaking him until he was nothing but whispers lost in the brightness. Then a familiar figure emerged. Her mother stepped forward, radiant and proud. "You've done it, my love. You've broken the chains. Tears streamed down Greta's face. Mom. I could feel you. You were with me all along. As light flooded the room, Greta felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The shadows retreated, revealing the silhouette of her grandmother Ilara standing beside her mother. You have reclaimed our story, Greta, Ilara said, her smile tender. Now, the darkness that sought to bind us has no power. Greta let the light envelop her, weaving love throughout every crack and crevice of pain. I will not carry this weight alone, she vowed. We honor both our past and our future. In a brilliant luminescence, the darkness dissolved into nothingness, memories of pain shimmered away, and the bonds of betrayal fell like shatters of glass, exposing the truth of love, one that could weather any storm. Her ancestors, freed, joined the brightness, laughter echoing, harmonizing, a symphony of hope. The room transformed into a vibrant landscape, filled with blooming flowers and sunlight. Greta inhaled deeply, warmth wrapping around her like a protective embrace. She had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, reshaping her family's legacy. In that moment, she knew the struggle would always be part of her, but now it would be the fuel for change, not hindrance. As she turned to her ancestors, she felt their love surge through her, and she whispered, "Thank you, I won't let our story fade again." They stood together, radiant in their togetherness, bound not by grief, but by the unbreakable connection of love. As the new day dawned, Greta stepped into a future filled with light, embodying their legacy. She would carry their story forward, unearthing each memory, turning pain into wisdom, and love into action. This is the moment she would treasure, the turning point where shadows of the past faded into the tapestry of hope, a tale reborn in the heart of a new generation. And as she walked out into the sunlight, gently unshackled, she felt that this was just the beginning. The weight of burdens crushed beneath her feet, now carried gently like feathers in her heart. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to be part of this community. Your support truly matters.